Good morning, happy Friday. Friday Ascension update. It's lovely and sunny. We've entered the magical warm month of July here in the UK. And yeah, I am going to be talking a little bit this morning about the period of time that we have got actually occurring for us at the moment between the solstice and the Lion's Gate, because it's quite significant, it's quite important. It's been highlighted, if you've watched my previous kind of updates and my videos, it was impressed upon me for quite a period of time that we would experience a big upsurge or a big downsurge, even almost like a continual downloading of light at a high intensity between now and the Lion's Gate. And the whole purpose of this is to set energy boundaries, or set a specific, you've heard me use the analogy before about laying foundations on a house. We're building a bigger, brighter, higher frequency matrix that we're all kind of simultaneously moving into. This is what the ascension process is. It's not just a transition from ego to heart. It's rebuilding society and our relationship with each other, with the planet, with everything around us at a higher level. Now, the deconstruction of the old matrix or the old way of life is very much occurring on our timeline, in our reality, and that's what all of this kind of turmoil or pandemonium or kind of toing and froing is all around us. And it's being driven by one particular thing. Now, we're rapidly approaching the Lion's Gate. Now, for me, the Lion's Gate it's the highlight of the year. You get your equinoxes, you get your solstices, you get your amazing powerful supermoons, you get your months where all the planets kind of hit retrograde, which is absolutely incredible. But the Lion's Gate is a very, very specific portal of energy that utilizes everything that's occurred over the course of the year and implements it into an actual physical action. Now, every single year that has gone past, there has been something significant that has occurred or changed during the Lion's Gate. And this one's not going to be any different. The beautiful part about it is you never know quite what you're going to get. It's always a bit of a surprise, and then you think afterwards, well, okay, yeah, everything was leading up to that. But this is something that most of you will have heard me refer to or talk about previously, the storm layer. Okay, now the storm layer was set up by Merlin and the Intergalactic Council almost exactly 2 years ago now, and it's a 3-year cycle of energy. But this cycle of energy isn't so much something that we experience. It's an actual physical addition to the reality that we live in. And if you imagine almost like a cyclone or a sphere of energy that surrounds the planet, between the ground that we put our feet on and the sky above us, the storm layer circulates continuously, very, very rapidly, and almost in like a cyclonic motion. And the purpose of this is to draw all of the low frequency energies, all of the karma, all of the vibrations that are no longer serving us, that we are releasing, not just that we're releasing personally, but it's being released from the land, from the work that we do, from the vibrations that are coming in. And this kind of all gets hoovered into the storm layer. Now, the information that was given to me, and it was very distinct information via Merlin, was that after 2 years, the storm layer would begin to decrease in its activity, which means that for the first 2 years, a huge amount of energy would be placed into this storm layer, or it would be highly active, were his exact words. So from this Lion's Gate onwards, this storm layer begins to down tune itself, or it begins to slow its motion down, which means there will be less fuel for it. Now, if there's less fuel for it, it means that we've done the majority. I know a lot of you might be listening to this and thinking, well, aren't we just getting warmed up? The majority of the releasing, or the negative vibrations, the lower frequencies, the karma, everything that needs to be released on our timeline has been put into the storm layer, and slowly but surely from this August onwards, it winds itself slowly down until August 2022, when it is apparently no longer needed. So this little period of time that you and I are sat in at the moment, you and I and everybody else, this July to August, is the last period of time where all of the very, very intense energy releasing for this last final part of the storm layer happens. Now, quite how this works for us, I'm not entirely sure, because I'm looking at it thinking, well, we've still got an absolute, we've got so much work to do on this world. There's so much that we haven't done yet. There's so much to achieve. There's so much movement that we've still got to make from 3D to 5D. But on a light level, what is happening is the light is going to be brought in at such a high level, and it is doing so as you're listening to this, that it's almost, many times I've used the analogy of throwing a rock into a calm, still pond. When that rock hits the bottom, the mud gets kind of poofed up and the water becomes cloudy. That's where we are at the moment. We're in the middle of this cloudy, murky water, with all of this turbulence and all of this energy going on around us, and the storm layer is clearing it up. Now, when it first started, Merlin told me very much to keep my energy above the vibration of the storm layer. Okay, he said, if you are vibrating on that frequency, if you're vibrating at the same frequency as the things that are being released into it, you will become disorientated, you will become dizzy, you will become ungrounded, you will feel like you're being whipped and whirled around. Now, you may have heard me tell this to you before, you may have heard me describe this, but it's the intensity of it is that, if you imagine, I use the household utilities as kind of like a comparison. If you imagine what happens when a washing machine goes from its rinse cycle into a spin, we're hitting spin at the moment. It's doing about 1,000 revs per minute, as fast as it can possibly go. The washing machine shaking, the whole everything around us. It couldn't be more challenging to retain an energetic status quo at the moment than it possibly is. It's requiring everything that we can put into it. But quite paradoxically, many of us are feeling pretty calm, pretty level, pretty linear. We've done what we need to do to ground and align ourselves. So everything else that's going on around us, that's of a kind of a distracting or an unbalancing vibration, it's happening on somebody else's TV screen, which is fantastic. But everything, the energy, the driving force around us currently, which is shining through every single thing that we experience, is the activation of the navel chakra. Now, I've covered this previously, but I'm going to describe it a little bit more. I did a video 6 months ago describing the Atlantean Goldprint. Now, the Atlantean Goldprint is basically the roadmap for our future civilization. It was taken from everything that we achieved in Atlantis that was good, that was of a 5th dimensional frequency, everything that worked, everything that was harmonious, everything that lit us up and allowed us to kind of commune with each other and the planet at a level that was above the benchmark of polarity. So everything that's going on at the moment is to lift us above that benchmark of polarity. It's to allow us to ascend our consciousness, our focus, our vibrations above where it has been for a very long time, and that in itself is the greatest adventure of our lifetime. If you think about what we've been setting out to achieve in our previous incarnations, most of it was just simply living, surviving, experiencing. The experience of the third dimension is very much about being here and being spirit in a physical body, and being as disconnected as you possibly can be from your higher senses, and just having a physical experience here on the planet. But that physical experience, that physical, mental, emotional, and that spiritual experience is completely changing now. 10 years ago, if you were listening to this, you'd be listening to this on a very different level of consciousness, a very different level of perception. Because you've been here every day, you might not maybe have noticed the level of your own personal progress. But in the short space of a decade, we have jumped from one frequency, bandwidth, level of consciousness and understanding into a completely different one. And we see things and hear things and perceive things completely differently now. Now, I digress slightly, but back to the driving force of this Atlantean Goldprint, or it's the blueprint or the Goldprint. I like to say, I always automatically want to call it a blueprint because that's kind of ingrained. But my friend Polaris AB said, well, it's a Goldprint. Well, you know, blue's previous. Goldprint is the Goldprint of the future. It's the roadmap, and this is being driven globally in every single human soul who exists on this planet via the navel chakra. Now, I know there's an awful lot of information out there at the moment about the chakras. Many of you will be kind of very kind of well educated on the primary chakras, the 7 that we had previously, but I've been working with the system of the 12 chakras since 2003, as many of you will know. And I was always super excited about the transcendent chakras above the top of the head, the stellar gateway, the soul star, the causal. There's lots of information on my website, www.timwild.com, if you want to know more about this, or in the books that Diana Cooper and I have written together, the Archangel Guide series. But the one chakra that always appeared to be a little bit kind of like, oh well, it's here, but it's not really it doesn't really seem to be doing much, was the navel chakra. Now, the navel chakra is the one physical chakra that has appeared on our human form that is kind of almost like it's snuck its way into the column. The transcendent chakras, or the energetic chakras that we have above and below our body, they were very easy to actualize. They were very easy to kind of like, you know, trigger and use, and everybody likes kind of looking up to source and to the cosmos for the light that's coming in, and we can work with that very easily. But when you start working with the physicality of the body, this is where things start getting a little bit technical. Crown, great. Third eye, bit iffy. Throat, lots of issues over the years. Heart, solar plexus, all of these we've worked with, and then all of a sudden you get to you get to what I call the trouble chakras, or the problem chakras, where you start entering into the nitty-gritty of our physical existence. And all of you will be acquainted with the sacral and issues of the sacral, and what the sacral represents within our physical lives. And of course it's our relationship with other people, our relationship with ourselves, with our partners, with our work colleagues, with everyone and everything around us. And of course the sacral, as it upgraded to its 5th dimensional frequency, has done a remarkably good job of ditching everybody or anything out of our lives that isn't in alignment with our ascension pathway. And once all of that turbulence has occurred, I mean, that's occurred as kind of marriage breakups, job losses, you know, you name it, friendships of a lifetime just suddenly vanishing overnight. And as the sacral continues to do its work and clear and purge and everything, and not just the purge from this lifetime, but from thousands of other experiences, once that all settles down, the soul family begin to gather in. But yeah, between the solar plexus and the sacral is the navel. Now the navel is bright orange. It looks like your own personal sun. And there it was, sat in the column. To me, it didn't seem to be doing an awful lot. The information that came from via Diana Cooper, that this was the Atlantean chakra of community. It was last active during the 5th dimensional era of Atlantis, which is what is the period of time that we have taken our Goldprint for the future for. Now, the navel chakra began the work that it's doing at the current moment on it's sometime in early February 2020. Archangel Metatron gave me the heads up. He said there is going to be an activation globally in February 2020 that is going to utterly change the reality that you live in. And this was shortly after he'd given me the information that 2 billion people would wake up during 2020. And then, of course, we went into the first stages of the lockdown, the changes, the global pandemic, and everything else that we've been experiencing that's evolving in our current state. And so, as I saw this, the navel chakra, after years and years of dormancy, after being in my chakra column and everybody else's chakra column that I'm working with, suddenly began to beacon, it began to flash, or it began to pulse. And it wasn't just doing it in me, it was doing it in everybody else. Okay, so this is not just a singular pulse, this is a unified pulse that happened globally. And you know, we're talking about billions, it's occurring in billions of people that aren't even aware of the fact that they've got a navel chakra, let alone that their navel chakra is actually doing this. So this unified pulse began to activate collectively. And as it did so, it brought in, or it ushered in the matrix Goldprint for what we are experiencing and what we're working towards. So my attention has been brought back to the navel chakra again recently, and very particularly for the work that's going to be going on during the Lion's Gate, because it's stepping up into the next phase. It's stepping up its process. It's stepping up what it is, the set of instructions that it's putting into our reality. And so after 2 years of very, very intensive clearing the karma, clearing the fear, clearing a lot of the anger and the illusion from around us, things are going to be kind of moving into the next level. Now, what I'm looking at very closely at the moment is how this ties into our reality and how this is going to affect us, because obviously I'm approaching this from a very practical standpoint. You know, we need to have our head in the clouds, but we also need our boots firmly on the ground. So what is it that we are actually going to be experiencing? And at the moment, we have got these two intertwined realities, and they're becoming very, very distinct now, where we've got people that are completely tuned in and awake, and people that aren't. And we're all mixed in together. We're all in this very interesting kind of very difficult to micromanage huddle of souls existing in two different realities together on the planet. And from what I can sense or see is that those two realities, although intertwined, are going to become even more distinct. And even if I don't know whether this will happen physically, but what I'm shown on an energy level is they're going to be separating at some point in the future. And those of us that are choosing the Ascension pathway are going to be building for this future more in this reality. And those that are simply not choosing to ascend in this lifetime are going to continue on their trajectory. So the navel chakra is now defining what we are choosing to experience on our collective community level. And it's setting some very distinct boundaries. It's setting the one that I'm really, really noticing that is very prominent is our the removal of our energies from the kind of what we would call the collective governments, or the oppressing powers that be that are becoming, they're visible now. all of the things that we previously kind of just accepted as everyday normal life, we're now saying, well, no, actually, like, I'm a sovereign soul. I do not need somebody to control my life. I do not need someone to tell me what I put in my body. I do not need somebody to control what I spend and what I don't spend, and what's actually rightfully mine on an abundance level. All of these things have been very much controlled in the energies and the format of the old blueprint of 3D, and we're now moving very rapidly into a state where we take command of this situation. But it requires a volume of consciousness to create something that is stable. And I believe that we are rapidly approaching the point where that volume of consciousness is actually, we're nearly there. You know, this is what makes this all so exciting. Like, if you think about the numbers last year, 2 billion people woke up between January 2020 and the winter solstice. Now, 2 billion people is a lot of people, okay? Whether those people are functionally awake or not is what I'm looking at the moment. And from what I can see, a lot of them are starting to be functional, meaning they are contributing to what we are doing and what we are aiming for, rather than simply being in a state of crisis because they've woken up and everything is just like, oh my God, what am I experiencing here? What's going on this planet? A lot of these wake ups were, they were quite angry, okay, and they still are angry. The people you might be able to identify with this. People around you now are all waking up, and when they do wake up, most of it is because they are becoming aware of the injustices, or basically the porky pies that they've been told about what's going on this world. And so they're angry, and there's I do believe that, particularly for the next period of time, the next month, maybe August, maybe even running towards the end of the year, the function of the storm layer will be to alchemize the collective anger that is going to be in the field. We can't take this anger away from people. They're going to feel it. You might be feeling it. I know that I feel it sometimes, because it's just like a lot of, I wouldn't say that I feel anger as such. I feel more frustration, because when you look at it from our perspective, when something is so glaringly obvious, when it's so obvious, you're just like, come on, why can't you see it? Then it does start to kind of turn in, it turns into a bit of anger, it turns into a bit of frustration. We've got to be honest with ourselves here about this, haven't we, a little bit? And so we're here waiting for these people to wake up. And anger, or maybe that fear/anger, is the first sign that you got a light bulb coming on. And so we're honouring that at the moment. I think we're kind of like, let the anger process then provide that guidance system, that support, that healing system that is always ultimately necessary when someone steps out of their ego and goes into the dark night of the soul. Because that's the transition, that's the regular transition that we see at the moment. As soon as the veil comes away from the third eye, as soon as the world is revealed, that is when the dark night of the soul kicks in. Okay, now I've had this question put to me before: why dark night? Because it is a process, it's a tunnel. Okay, now imagine stepping into this dark tunnel. You can see the light at the end, but you've got to make it from one end of that tunnel to the other, and in the process of doing so, you've got to face all the fears that the darkness might present to you. That's why it's called the dark night of the soul. All of the outrage, all of the things that come to the surface, they're all up for release. So this is all being put into the storm layer at the moment. This is being managed by the ascended masters. It's being managed by the angels, the dragons, the unicorns. The higher galactics are here docked around the planet, kind of waiting for everything to kind of keep on progressing. So as the navel chakra is pushing this community, this Goldprint, further and further, you and I and many other thousands and maybe even millions of light workers around the planet are detaching from the previous reality and beginning to put our energy into this Goldprint, this community blueprint. Now, what we're doing is, it's the boundaries of it are mapped out, but what we create is entirely down to us. Whether we create from what we already have existing, we just simply make it better, or whether we do completely remove ourselves and put ourselves into communities. And I'm sure there will be a very fair mixture of that. But the kind of the patterns that I'm noticing are the urges to begin to be able to provide for ourselves, to have that ability to say, well, I don't need that from the government, from society. I am able to actually function on my own, or if I can't function on my own, then there's people around me that can support me and enable me to do so. That is something that we kind of need to be looking at the moment, or if we don't need to be looking at, is at least teaching ourselves how to do it, how to be self-sufficient, how to have the ability to provide for ourselves. Because at some point in the proceedings, there is going to be a collective hand up, no more. We don't need that from a society, from a structure or a group of very, very wealthy human beings who are simply wanting to put humanity in a box for their own financial benefit and their control. That's the third dimensional program, and we're not living in that anymore. It might look like we're living in it, but believe you and me, we are far, far away from that energetic structure, and it only affects us if we consider ourselves to be part of it. So that's why I've been saying over the last year and a half or so, keep your targets high, keep your standards high, keep your focus on what you want to achieve in the world, not what you're frightened of experiencing, because that's very much the kind of the trip mines that are laid out for us at the moment. Is be afraid, come over to the dark side, come over and tread, be worried about what we're doing, be worried about the medical control, be worried about the social control and everything like that. It will it will only work if we add our energy to it collectively. If we all, as a collective field or force, and we are huge now, we are vibrant, we are strong, all detach ourselves from this, there is absolutely nothing that can be done about it. It's a powerful movement of sovereign energy, heart-based sovereign energy. So that's pretty much what I'm looking at the moment, and that's what's occurring to me. That's what I feel is coming in for us. Big increases in light coming in, big releases of energies such as anger, fear, turbulence, more changes occurring, more laughable nonsense from the politics side of things that we can kind of view and go, yeah, okay, you crack on with it. It only, like I say, it only affects us if we add our energy to it, and if we get involved with it. Sometimes we are kind of tied in with it and it is affecting us, but that is where we start laying down the foundations on our own personal lines in the sand and our boundaries to say we are sovereign beings, and that is not how we live anymore. Okay, so yeah, the era or the period of the navel chakra is now becoming very strong. If you're feeling urged to check out more about communities, more about joining together with other like-minded souls, do that, follow it up. That's what social media is so amazing for. It's got a bad rap on many fronts, but we are all interconnected globally by this amazing thing called the internet, and it served us very, very well. So yeah, that is where we are now. Mia and I will be presenting, I don't know whether you managed to join us for the Facebook Live yesterday. There was we had a wonderful conversation for half an hour, and on the 7th of the 7th, the portal, Mia and I will be presenting how to traverse this 3D and 5D. I know you've heard me talk about it previously, but we will be dedicating a workshop to it that will be for 90 minutes, 8 o'clock British summertime UK, 9 o'clock for those of you in Europe. And yeah, I know a lot of you out there are navigating this world from you might have a 3D job, you've got 1 foot in 3D, you've got 1 foot in 5D, and you're finding the process very difficult. Well, our workshop will be dedicated to you lovely souls, and how the best way through this, and how to deal with this, and also maybe to deal with all of the 3D, you know, like the 3D levels of consciousness within the people around you. We'll be looking at it very closely. We have a lot of very useful information for you. So yeah, happy days. And just like to show off my new t-shirt. Love is the medicine. Okay, now I'll put the link to the t-shirt in the credits with this video, and also the link to the workshop that Mia and I are running on the 7th. Okay, lots of love to you all. See you soon. Hope you have a beautiful weekend. Bye for now.